Welcome to Progressive Short Takes. I'm your host, Joe Firestone. The Republican Party is against democracy. That has become increasingly apparent. We not only have attempts at voter suppression going on all over the country, led by the President of the United States himself, but we have the state level Republican parties and the local Republican parties happily join in voter suppression. And as they do so, and as people speak, in opposition to this, and say that America is a democracy, some of the Republicans, people who have been considered to be fairly respectable, can be counted on, to reply, we are not a democracy, we are a republic, which is certainly a reply that says we don't want to be a nation where the majority rules. That is not the ideal America. Yes, we want to be a republic. We want to live under the law, but we want to have a law which is loaded toward particular classes and particular ethnic groups and particular interest groups. We certainly want to have a constitution, but we want to have the constitution but differentially apply to favor particular groups. So that's what we're looking at. One party seems to advocate for democracy in all its public statements, which doesn't mean that it acts to actually build democracy. There's plenty of hypocrisy in that particular party. But we have another party which is saying, no, the United States is not a democracy, it's a republic, and we like it that way. We don't think it should be a democracy. Prominent people in the Republican Party have been saying that at least since the early 1980s. At least since the early 1980s. So, I think this should be a big issue. The fact that the Republican Party is against democracy as a verbal position, as an official position of the Republican Party, seems to me to be a really big issue. Why isn't it? Why isn't it a big issue in our country? Their preference for minority rule, accompanied by authoritarian repression, is immoral. This alone should persuade voters that Republican candidates should all be viewed as unlikely to be effective public servants who are normally to be opposed by those who do believe in democracy. Unless the candidates, but Democratic opposition is particularly venal or corrupt, we should, in normal circumstances, be supporting the Democrat, simply because the Democrat agrees with us that the basic principle of democracy, which is majority rule, is what we generally want to have in the United States. Of course, there are always exceptions. It's right, it's good to have controls that stop a tyranny of the majority, because tyranny is tyranny and we don't want to have tyranny. But at the same time, we should be working to perfect a majoritarian political system, whereas the Republicans are always trying to oppose such a system. Now, there are Democratic candidates who are particularly venal or corrupt. Joe Manchin and Richie Neal come to mind, okay, immediately. Over a period of time, but if we act, however, to mostly vote for Democratic candidates who appear progressive and who appear to want to support a majoritarian platform, okay, and a majoritarian idea, okay, of progress. But to the extent we are successful at doing this, this will create the conditions for a Democratic Party split and the rise of the left, the third party. That is, what I'm saying is, to the extent we act to vote overwhelmingly for Democratic candidates, this will kill the Republican Party. And to the extent it does so, this will then create the conditions for a Democratic Party split and the rise of the left third party. Seems to me that this is the good outcome we need to actually revitalize democracy. It will not only revitalize democracy because the leftist, the third party, will focus on perfecting democracy, but it would also make the opposition party, the new party to follow after the Republicans, okay, a party that will at least verbally and in terms of its overall outlook be supporting democracy. There was one time in this country where the Republican Party seemed to do that. During the post-war period, during the 1950s and during the 1960s. But the Republican Party turned again back to plutocracy in the 1970s. And as the years have gone by, that party has become less and less majoritarian and more or less the party of the plutocrats, the party of the oligarchs, and the party of the enemies of our democracy. We need to get rid of that party, and we need to get rid of it as quickly as we can. So, that is this Progressive Short Take. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll go to my Patreon site, okay, occasionally, and I will see you very soon with another Progressive Short Take.